My name is Sarah, and I am 54 years old. I live in a spacious house in a Boston suburb, the one my husband and I bought 20 years ago when the world seemed simple and comprehensible. Officially, I don't have a job. I am a homemaker, a convenient label my husband, Tom, proudly affixes to me at dinner parties. In reality, I manage an investment portfolio I built from a small inheritance my grandmother left me. It is this portfolio, not Tom's successful real estate deals as he loves to recount, that has funded our lives all these years. But no one knows this. It was my quiet sacrifice for the sake of family harmony. A sacrifice that, as I learned on that Tuesday, was utterly in vain. It all started with an envelope. Thick, cream-colored, with elegant calligraphy. It lay on the granite island of our kitchen like a small white bomb. I recognized my daughter Jessica's handwriting. It had to be the invitation to her wedding. My fingers hovered over it. It was strange, as we had just discussed the details of the celebration a week ago. Jessica had said the invitations were still at the printer. I picked up the envelope. It was addressed to Mr. and Mrs. Tom and Sarah Mitchell. My name was there, but something inside me clenched with a cold premonition. I ran a finger over the heavy cardstock and slid it open. Inside, printed in an ornate script, were the words, "Jessica Mitchell and David Wright invite you to share in their joy on their wedding day." I read to the end, an icy numbness seeping into my body. The invitation was addressed to Tom and me. But it was a single invitation. For the two of us. As if we were distant relatives or family friends. There was no separate special invitation for Mom and Dad. No handwritten note tucked inside. Just a formality. That evening I waited for Tom. He entered the house as he always did, loud and self-assured, dropping his briefcase on a chair and kissing my cheek with a scent of expensive cologne and success. "Tough day, darling," he announced, heading for the bar. But I closed the deal on the Baker Street house. Great commission. Just in time, with Jess's wedding around the corner. I silently handed him the invitation. He glanced at it and smiled. "Ah, here they are. Finally. Beautiful, aren't they? Jess always had good taste. She gets that from me." My heart began to pound. "Tom, don't you find this a little strange?" "What's strange?" "That my daughter is getting married. I've been preparing for this for 27 years. One invitation. For both of us. As if we're just guests." He waved a dismissive hand, pouring himself a whiskey. "Oh, Sarah, don't start. It's the modern way. Eco-friendly, saving paper. You always look for a catch. Just relax and be happy for our daughter." But I couldn't relax. Anxiety gnawed at me. The next day I called Jessica. She didn't answer for a long time, and when she finally did, her voice was strained. "Mom, I'm really busy right now, can I call you back?" "Jessica, honey, it'll just be a minute." I received the invitation. "It's lovely." There was a pause on the line. "Be too long." "Oh, I'm glad you like it. It's just, I wanted to clarify. Is this the only invitation for Dad and me?" Silence again. I could hear her exhale slowly. "Mom, let's not do this." "Do what, sweetie?" "I'm just asking a question." "Look," her voice turned cold and hard as steel. "David and I, and Michael, we made a decision. We don't want you to come to the wedding." The floor fell away from beneath me. I gripped the countertop to keep from collapsing. I couldn't breathe. "What?" I whispered. This had to be a monstrous mistake. "Joe." "You heard me," Jessica snapped. "The invitation is for Dad. We put your name on it too. Well, to avoid it being completely awkward when he saw it. But it's for him." I was silent, trying to process her words. My son Michael was also part of this decision. My children. My own flesh and blood. "But why?" My voice broke. "What did I do?" "Oh, Mom, please." Irritation flared in her voice. "You know exactly why. You're too critical. You're never happy with anything. You criticize my every move, every choice David makes. Michael's business. You're just suffocating." We want the day to be light and joyful. And with you there, that's impossible. You'll find something to complain about. The dress, the flowers, the food. You'll ruin my day with your constant judgment. Dad agrees with us. He said he would try to make sure you. Well, that everything went smoothly. Dad agrees with us. Those words were the final blow. My husband, my partner, he knew. He was part of this conspiracy against me. So that's what he meant, I whispered, remembering his words about how he would handle everything. Mom, I'm sorry it had to be this way, but it's our final decision. Please respect it. For my sake. She hung up. I stood in the middle of the kitchen, in the deafening silence of our large, empty house. My ears were ringing. The pain was physical. Sharp and cutting, it pierced my chest, stealing my breath. This wasn't just a betrayal. It was an erasure. It was as if my entire life, all my sacrifices, all my love, had been taken and crossed out with a thick, ugly line. Too critical. I remembered the sleepless nights when Jessica was applying to Yale. It was me, not Tom, who sat with her, proofreading every essay, hiring the best tutors, paying their fees from my brokerage account. Tom, meanwhile, was telling his friends how his brilliant daughter was paving her own way. I remembered when Michael wanted to launch his IT startup. He came to me with bright eyes and a business plan scribbled on a napkin. Tom clapped him on the shoulder and said, "Go for it, son. But I'm short on cash right now, you know how the market is." That evening, I transferred $50,000 from my account to Michael's, making him promise to tell no one. We framed it as an investment from an anonymous angel investor, so as not to wound Tom's pride. You criticize my every move. I didn't criticize her choice, but her recklessness. When she decided to spend $10,000 on a wedding dress, I only gently suggested that the money could be a good down payment on a house. Tom had boomed. "Of course, princess. You deserve the best. Don't listen to your mother. She's always pinching pennies." And everyone applauded the generous father, not knowing that the bill for that dress would be paid with my credit card. That night when Tom came home, I didn't make a scene. I simply met him with a cold, detached calm. He was cheerful, talking about his plans for the wedding, what suit he would wear, what speech he would give. He was playing his part to the end. "Did you talk to Jess?" he asked casually. "Yes," I replied in a flat voice. "And?" "She said I'm not welcome." He looked away, feigning sympathy. "Darling, I'm so sorry. I told them it was too harsh. But they're young, idealistic. They just want a perfect day. Don't take it to heart. Maybe it's for the best. You can rest, go to a spa. And I have to be there. I'm the father of the bride. I have to walk her down the aisle." He spoke, and I looked at him, and for the first time in 30 years, I didn't see the man I loved. I saw a stranger, a liar. A man who had built his comfortable world on my money and my love, and now had easily cast me aside like a useless part. I didn't sleep that night. I lay there staring at the ceiling, and the pain slowly gave way to a cold, ringing fury. They called me critical, judgmental. They thought they could just write me out of their lives after emptying my bank accounts. Well, that was not going to happen. The next 3 weeks passed in a fog. I acted normal. I made Tom his breakfast, discussed the weather, and listened to his enthusiastic stories about the preparations for the event of the year. He thought I had accepted it, that I was broken. He even looked at me with pity like I was a sick dog. The children didn't call. Not Jessica, not Michael. To them I had ceased to exist. And I worked. At night while Tom slept, I sat in my office. I pulled up old bank statements, printed tuition payment receipts, found wire transfer confirmations, gathered everything. Every dollar spent on Tom's brilliant investments that were actually just covers for his debts. Every check for the elite schools, summer camps, and first cars for my children. Every transfer to the accounts of their successful projects. I placed these papers in an elegant leather portfolio. This wasn't revenge. It was the truth. My truth, which I had hidden for so long behind the facade of a perfect family. I bought myself a dress. Not the one I had planned to wear as the mother of the bride. Modest, elegant, in a pastel shade. I bought a dress the color of blood and wine. Perfectly tailored, silk, it hugged my figure. It was bold, daring, and completely inappropriate for the mother of the bride. But then I wasn't. I was an uninvited guest. On the morning of the wedding, I woke up with a clear head. The house was buzzing with activity. Tom rushed around the rooms like he was the groom, not the father. He kept checking himself in the mirror, adjusting his bow tie and rehearsing his speech. He was at the peak of his triumph. "Are you sure you don't want to come with me? Just to sit in the car?" he asked with false sympathy. "No, Tom," I said, calmly sipping my coffee. "I have other plans." He breathed a sigh of relief and left. The wedding was held at a country club on a lake. I knew the place. I had chosen it myself and paid the deposit 6 months ago. I arrived as the reception was beginning, after the ceremony had ended. I parked my car a short distance away and sat for a few minutes, looking at the marquee tent bathed in golden light, listening to the sounds of music and happy laughter. My heart was beating steadily. There was no fear, only resolve. I got out of the car. I wore my red dress and a single string of pearls, my only jewelry. In my hand was the leather portfolio. I walked into the tent. The first person to see me was the wedding planner. He rushed toward me with a flustered look. "Ma'am, excuse me, can I help you?" "Don't worry," I said in a quiet but firm voice that made him step back. "I know where I'm going." I walked through the hall, and conversations died down. Heads turned in my direction. I was a bright, foreign object in this pastel idyll. I saw the surprised faces of family friends, the confused looks of relatives. And then I saw them. At the head table. My daughter Jessica in her white dress, beautiful and happy. Beside her, her husband David. My son Michael, looking at his sister with pride. And my husband Tom, beaming like a polished trophy, at the center of it all. Their smiles froze when they saw me. Jessica's face twisted into a mask of horror and anger. Michael turned pale. And Tom. For a second pure animal fear flashed across his face, but he quickly composed himself. He stood up and walked toward me, blocking my path. "Sarah, what are you doing here?" he hissed so only I could hear. "I asked you. Leave. Don't make a scene." "I have no intention of making one," I replied calmly, looking him straight in the eye. "I've just come to congratulate my daughter. And to give her my wedding gift." I walked around him and approached the newlyweds table. Jessica shot to her feet. "Mom, what do you think you're doing? Get out of here. I didn't invite you." "I know, sweetie," I said just as quietly. But I couldn't miss this. At that moment the MC, who hadn't noticed the rising tension, announced. "And now, a word from the father of the bride, the man who made this beautiful celebration possible, Mr. Tom Mitchell." The room erupted in applause. Tom, seizing the moment, forced a wide smile and started toward the microphone. This was my chance. "Excuse me," I said into the sudden silence. My voice, amplified by the unexpected acoustics, carried through the entire tent. "Before Tom gives his undoubtedly moving speech, I would like to say a few words. As a wedding gift." All eyes were on me. Tom froze halfway to the microphone. "My daughter said I am too critical and always find fault," I began, looking directly at Jessica. "And perhaps she's right. I criticized your decision to apply to Yale, didn't I, Jess? I said it was too expensive. But you got in. And all these years, your father has proudly told everyone how you earned a full scholarship. Isn't that right, Tom?" Tom was silent, his face a stone mask. "The truth is, I opened my portfolio. There was no scholarship. Here are the tuition bills for your 4 years, totaling $280,000. They were all paid from my personal account." I placed the first stack of documents on the table in front of a stunned Jessica. A dead silence fell over the room. "Michael," I turned to my son. You built your business from the ground up, right? At least that's what your father says. He always admired your entrepreneurial spirit and how you found investors. Michael stared at me, unable to speak. The truth is, the only investor was me. Here is the contract and the wire transfer for $50,000 in seed money. And another 30 a year later when your company was on the verge of bankruptcy. The second stack of papers landed on the table. Michael looked at them as if they were venomous snakes. And finally, this beautiful wedding. My voice didn't waver. This venue, this dress, these flowers, this banquet for 150 guests. Tom, you told everyone this was your gift to your daughter, didn't you? That you paid for every last cent thanks to your latest successful deal. I looked at my husband. He was as white as a sheet. The truth is, I pulled out the last stack of documents. Tom's last successful deal barely covered his credit card debt. The wedding. I paid for the wedding. Here are all the invoices. $102,450. I placed the final stack of papers on the table. It landed with a dull, heavy thud that seemed to echo through the tent. I never asked for gratitude, I said, my gaze sweeping over the frozen faces of my children and husband. I did it because I love you. I stayed silent because I wanted to preserve the illusion of a perfect family, one where you had a strong, successful, generous father. I let him take all the credit while I took on the role of the constantly dissatisfied, penny-pinching, critical mother. 'Cause someone had to say no. Someone had to think about the future while your father was making promises he couldn't keep. I looked at Jessica. Tears were streaming down her cheeks, smearing her expensive mascara. She looked from me to her father, her eyes filled with horror and dawning comprehension. Michael sat with his head bowed, looking as if he had shrunk. And Tom, he just stood there, his mouth agape. His mask had fallen. Revealed to everyone was not a successful businessman, but a pathetic, frightened liar. You decided I might spoil your celebration, I finished, my voice calm. But you missed the most important thing. Without me, this celebration wouldn't exist. Nor would many other things in your lives. This is my final gift to you. The truth. Do what you want with it. I turned and walked toward the exit. No one tried to stop me. Behind me, there was an absolute ringing silence, broken only by my daughter's quiet sobs. I walked down the path, lit by the evening lights, and for the first time in many years, I felt not pain or resentment, but lightness. A weight I had carried for 30 years had been lifted from my shoulders. The weight of lies, pretense, and unasked for sacrifices. I didn't know what would happen next. Would they call? Would they apologize? And did I even need them to anymore? I got into my car, started the engine, and pulled onto the highway, driving away from that beautiful fake fairy tale. I was driving into my new life. And I knew one thing for sure. I would never again be too critical. I would just be myself. Free. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left, and thank you for watching.